Okay, so for today's lecture, we're only going to do one video part because you had the Who Am I Legislative Explorer due now. But I really want to focus today on committees. I already said they're going to be heavily quizzed on the forthcoming quiz, and they are all over the AP exam because they're a really critical part of Congress. And as we already know, Congress is a huge part of the test. So, four types of committees. Let's talk about them and let's talk about how they work, right? Because as we already said, there's far more legislative work that occurs in Congress than exists on the floor of the US Senate or the floor of the House of Representatives. Most of the work is done in committees. So the first type we're going to look at is standing committees. These are hands down the most famous and the most common, and they are the ones on which every member of Congress sits on, at least a couple of them, with the exception of Marjorie Taylor Greene, right, who was recently booted for her crazy conspiracy theories and threatening to kill Democratic members of Congress. Standing committees. They are set up to be specific to different policy areas, meaning there's going to be, I'll show you on the next slide, kind of a list of them, but there'll be all sorts of different committees that committee's job then is to kind of shepherd through and be the first line of defense for any bill that's sort of related to that policy area or oversight related to that policy area. Okay, so if I am, passing a bill or I submitted a bill to ban logging in all wilderness areas of national forests, that bill is going to go to the Senate and House committees on public lands or natural resources or whatever it's called. I'll show it in the next slide. So they will handle any bill that sort of falls under their umbrella, and they pursue all the different oversight that's needed. So if they're if we're finding out that the National Park Service lost, $20 million last year, that committee on public lands will basically hold hearings to figure out what happened. Now, within standing committees, there also exists quite a few subcommittees that members of the standing committees will sit on their subcommittees. For example, the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure is going to have a highways and transit subcommittee. They'll also probably have a railroad or rail system subcommittee or airports subcommittee, right? And so basically, again, this is the model that Congress has set up to allow generalists um, to kind of vote with expertise on complicated bills because those bills began in the committees and subcommittees staffed by members of Congress that actually do hold expertise on those areas. So here are all the different standing committees in the Senate and the House as of a few years ago. They could have been added. Some are very famous and some you're going to have to know. So if you want to make a list real quick, I'll go down the list of ones that you probably are going to have to know um, for the exam. Um, the Senate and the House budget committees are both extremely important. Then if you go down, let's see, budget committees. Oh, Senate appropriations. Appropriations committees are big. Then you go to House. You have House Ways and Means Committee is a huge one. And then the House Rules Committee, as we said, is a huge one. And I guess those are really the only critical ones, right? But some of these are very famous and, important, prominent people get seats on them. Like foreign relations, Senate foreign relations would be senators whose either has work in, the State Department or the diplomacy, or maybe have their sights set on one day being Secretary of State, or or former military people might sit on the Foreign Relations Committee. But again, so appropriations, budget, House rules, and House ways and means would really be the big ones. Moving on.
Hey, Daddy.
That interruption by my second youngest child, who came in to tell me he was hungry and wanted a snack. But I want to go ahead and show you an example of what oversight looks like in this video of, let's see if I can get it to work. If I can't, we'll play it on. Okay, this is um, Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's famous for having run for president um, relatively recently, and she sits on the um, uh, Senate. Let's see, the Senate Banking Committee um, subcommittee, Senate Banking Committee, and as part of the Finance Committee. And she's pursuing oversight in this video where she is investigating as part of the committee. Um, okay, again, and to pause again. She is investigating wrongdoing that emerged, where famously Wells Fargo, which is a massive, one of the biggest banks in the country, had been accused and found guilty of ultimately of basically running massive scams that hit tens of thousands of customers, where Wells Fargo was opening without their permission extra accounts in their name so that salespeople could hit their quotas of, opened 25 new accounts this week or 50 new accounts this week. And so the bank was literally opening up extra accounts for its customers um, without their permission. And this is obviously a big problem, but really what it did is it actually hurt some people's credit. And some people were not able to get houses, lost houses on it. Some people even lost their jobs when their credit report came back revealing that their credit was poor because they had these extra accounts that they were delinquent on. Um, and so it was a massive controversy. And here is Elizabeth Warren, as part of the Senate Banking Committee, basically ripping the CEO of Wells Fargo a new one in hearings designed to create oversight. Here we go. Well, shoot. Okay, that's not working sound-wise, so I'll just show that to you on Tuesday's class, but let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so we just talked about standing committees. We looked at the list. Standing committees, as I said, is where the majority of work in Congress happens, but they're not the only committee. There's also joint committees. They're much fewer in number, and they are designed to bring efficiency to the legislative process. So sometimes it can be kind of cumbersome and slow, where things have to go through Senate committees and House committees and then go to the floor and get voted on. And really, what they decided a while ago is that for certain, like very critical issues, there needed to be merged committees that brought U.S. senators and U.S. House members together to allow for the speedier creation of bills and the kind of a more consistency between each branch of the legislature. And so you see these on really, really important issues like the economy, like there's joint committees on the economy and joint committees on taxation, but basically designed to say, if we have to pursue these individually in the Senate and then individually in the House, like it's just going to be a whole mess and it's going to slow us down, and these issues need to be worked through efficiently and quickly. So joint committees there's not a lot of them out there, but there's intelligence committees, the economy, taxation, really important parts of our country, where they were wanting where speed is valuable. Then there are conference committees, and conference committees don't exist all the time. They're brought together after a Senate bill passes and a House bill passes that are different versions of kind of the same bill. This happens quite regularly, right? So let's say they're passing a bill on like this new civil rights legislation that the Democrats are going to be sponsoring. That the Senate civil rights bill includes language that does X, Y, and Z, and the House bill includes X, Y, and Z, but also A and B. And so the House Civil Rights Bill and the Senate Civil Rights Bill that pass are pretty similar. They're clearly the same bill, but they've been kind of worked up in individual standing committees in both the Senate and the House, and they have changes, right? There's language that's different. There's parts of the bill that's different. And so once those bills go through the Senate and the House and they're both passed, they would be sent to a conference committee that would have members from both congressional branches, and they would be tasked with ironing out the differences between the bills, right? And so a lot of times in conference committee, it will be kind of compromising, like, okay, House, we'll let you keep this portion of the bill, but you have to go ahead and get rid of this thing that we didn't do in our bill. And so the conference committee irons out the differences between the two bills to get a singular bill. That is then sent back down to the Senate and the House. It's voted on again. As long as it's the same at that point, then it would go to the president to sign into law or to veto, I suppose. So conference committees happen when bills are different between the Senate and the House, and they need to be ironed out to to become the same. And then the last one we're going to look at are select committees. Select committees are relatively rare. And they are generally pulled together by the Senate and the House into creation for a specific purpose. Oftentimes, it's investigating a like a massive important event that just happened, where let's say after 9/11, after the planes hit the Twin Towers in 9/11, the Senate and the House both voted to create a select committee to investigate what the heck happened and how 9/11 occurred, right? And so this select committee was brought into creation. Members of Congress, in the intelligence agency or the intelligence committees, were appointed to it to investigate and then produce a congressional report that said what happened. So there's been select committees created to investigate Watergate. There's been select committees to investigate the Great Recession back in 2008, 2009, where the economy basically blew up. There's been select committees created for the Russia hacking and Russia investigation of the 2016 elections. Select committees are created in Congress for a specific purpose, generally to pursue an investigation. So that's standing committees, which are the most common, where oversight and legislative work happens and every member of Congress sits on them. There's joint committees that bring the Senate and the House together on a couple very important issues where speed and efficiency is in demand. There's conference committees that are formed after a bill goes through both the Senate and the House, but comes out slightly different between the two. And so the conference committees are created to iron out those differences, create some compromises, and create a singular bill. And then there's select committees that are formed when really important and massive things happen in our government that need investigation. So with the 2 minutes that we have left here today, let's begin this question. We'll pick it up tomorrow, is how do congressional committees impact legislation? Number one, as I said, the vast majority of bills die in committee, right? The vast majority of bills that are sponsored by senators and House of Representatives are never passed into law. Basically, every session, a session is 2 years, every session, there's over 9,000 bills sponsored by members of Congress, submitted to either the Speaker of the House or the Senate Majority Leader, 9,000 bills each session. And then as soon as they're sponsored, the Senate Majority Leader or the Speaker of the House will assign that bill that was just sponsored to whatever the appropriate committee is for that particular issue. So again, if I sponsored a bill on banning logging, the Speaker of the House, and it was a House member, the Speaker of the House would send that to the House Public Lands Subcommittee. Okay, and so they send the bills to the committees where the committee begins working on the bill, where they look at the bill as it's written, and they say, we got to cut this, and this, but we also want to add this in, and we're going to debate the issue. And the bills that are sent will, as I said, will send to the standing committee, and then the standing committee will send it down to the appropriate subcommittees where research will begin happening, where presentations will occur, where they'll bring in experts on the issue related to the bill. They'll hold hearings. They'll get budget calculations to find out how much it's going to cost. And so the subcommittee kind of does all the real work on it, basically make sure that everything is precise. Then it gets sent back to the committee from the subcommittee, and the committee will then rewrite the bill, review it, and then vote on it. And if The committee votes, a majority of the members of the committee vote, says we like this bill, we want to send it forward. It goes to the floor of either the Senate or the House for a vote. If the majority do not like it, then the bill is dead in committee.